Good morning. On behalf of Delano Public Schools, I would like to welcome the veterans and their families, parents of veterans, our high school students, staff, and the public to our Veterans Day program, where we are honoring all who served. This year, we are happy to be partnering with Charter Communications and the History Channel for our program. Jeremy Christensen, commander of Delano Legion Post 377, will be our program leader. At this time, please stand, if able, for the advancement of the colors by the Delano Legion Post 377 Color Guard, and remain standing for the POW MIA recognition and the national anthem. The proper flag etiquette when the flag passes in a procession is for all to stand, who are able, remove their hats, face the flag, and salute. To salute, all persons come to attention, placing their right hand over their heart.
The National League of Families POW flag, also known as the POW MIA flag, consists of a silhouette of a prisoner of war, POW, before a guard tower of barbed wire in a white on black field. POW MIA appear above the silhouette, and the words, "You are not forgotten," appear in white on the black field. The POW flag was created in 1972 for the National League of Families of American prisoners and missing in Southeast Asia, and officially recognized by the United States Congress in conjunction with the Vietnam War POW MIA issue as a symbol of our nation's concern and commitment to resolving as full as possible the fates of Americans still prisoner, missing, and unaccounted for in Southeast Asia, thus ending the uncertainty for our families and the nation. The flag will now be placed on the lone chair as we recognize our POW and MIAs, and remember, they are not forgotten. Thank you for that rendition of the Star Spangled Banner. American Legion believes that the national anthem is an important part of our nation's patriotic heritage and instills 100% of our nation's one of our goals, which is to foster 100% Americanism. The Delano High School student, Autumn Landon, will now sing the national anthem. Thank you, Autumn. I apologize for getting out of step there. I just about forewent that. So again, thank you so much, Autumn. That was beautiful. Now that I'm back on track a little bit here, I'd like to recognize the platform of guests. Mr. Matt Shane, Delano School Superintendent, Steve Heil, Delano School Principal, Ryan Toole, Delano Activities Director, and our guest speaker, Senator Bruce Anderson. I'd like to thank other program participants, including Mr. Jason Coots and the Delano Woodwind Ensemble. The preamble to the Delano American Constitution states 10 specific purposes. We're going to personify at least 3 of those purposes today that will be evident by today's program. Number 1 is to foster and perpetuate 100% Americanism. Number 2 is to instill a sense of individual obligation to the community, state, and nation. And number 3 is to safeguard and transmit to posterity the principles of justice, freedom, and democracy. At this time, we're going to have a moment of silence. To have a moment of silence for all those veterans who have fallen, especially those who have given their lives to supporting our principles of freedom, justice, and democracy. And if I can just make one quick side note on this moment of silence. I was just informed here a few moments ago that the Delano American Legion family lost one of our last remaining World War II veterans last night. Pete Teese passed away. He was one of our final World War II veterans, so during this moment of silence, please keep Pete Teese, one of our last World War II veterans, in your thoughts. Thank you. The next part of our program is very special. Eric Geffian and Corporal Jack Geffian of the United States Marine Corps are here to present the Sergeant Dylan Semolina Memorial Plaque. Eric and Jack, can you please come forward? And you guys can please be seated at this time. Are you guys doing it for me?
It's my honor today to talk to you about Sergeant Dylan Simolina. I imagine that many of you have never had the privilege to meet him. Today I want to share with you a very small glimpse of Dylan and his memory. And I also have a challenge for each of you. Dylan graduated high school 9 years ago, right here in Delano. Dylan walked the hallways that each of you walk each day. He was a proud member of the Delano football team and played on the same field for the same coach as many of you. He also played golf for Delano High School. Dylan was just like you. He had the same fun with friends, girlfriends, texts, tests, quizzes, and many of the opportunities in life that each of you are going through today. Post-graduation in 2010, he joined the military to become a U.S. Marine. Dylan excelled in the military in multiple ways through multiple deployments and multiple promotions as a U.S. Marine. On one of those missions, on January 14th of 2016, during a training exercise, Dylan and 11 of his fellow Marines were tragically taken from us. Dylan served for our freedoms, for our opportunities, and for our future. So my challenge for you today is very simple. As you walk the classroom, as you head to the field, as you go to practice, as you hang with your friends, as you look at that next text message, take a moment and stop. And thank, in memory of Dylan, thank him for the freedoms that you choose or that you have. Have a moment of silence, however long, to thank Dylan for his service. And when you see a vet today, stop and thank them. There's nothing more powerful. It is also my pleasure to introduce Dylan's parents, Mike and Lisa, and I'd like them to come forward now, and we're going to present for them a plaque that we've had created. So Mike and Lisa, if you'd come forward. On behalf of the Delano community, the American Legion, and one proud Marine family to another, we present this to you, Mike and Lisa, to keep Dylan's memory alive. Thank you.
I was asked a couple of times, do I want to say something? And normally I jump at that chance. And today, I didn't know what to say. It's Veterans Day. I'm a vet from the Gulf War. And Dylan followed my footsteps. I just wanted to extend our family, our greatest appreciation for everything that this school's doing, everybody that's here, all of my brothers and sisters that served, all of your parents, all of your brothers and sisters, everybody that served in the military. I thoroughly appreciate what's going on here and recognizing this valuable day. Eric and Amy, thank you for doing what we would only pray that would be done. And never, ever forget.
Again, we're very, very honored and humbled to present that award today and be with his family today. So again, very much, thank you very much for that. You guys, it was very... An important program sponsored by the American Legion is Boys and Girls State, which is sponsored by the American Legion Auxiliary. American Legion Boys State and American Legion Auxiliary Girls State are the premier programs for teaching how government works while developing leadership skills and an appreciation for your rights as citizens. Participants will run for office, learn public speaking, create and enforce laws, and actively participate in phases of creating and running a working government in this exciting and fun summer program in June that is conducted on college campuses. This past summer, we had 2 girls participate in Girls State. Would the following students who participated in Girls State come forward to be recognized? Caitlin Beckela and Mackenzie Oswell. Boys and Girls State are open to high school juniors. Please watch for the announcement in February on how you can sign up for Boys and Girls State program. The American Legion Baseball is a variety of amateur baseball played by 13 to 19-year-olds in all 50 states in the U.S. and Canada. More than 3,500 teams participate each year. The American Legion established the program in 1925 at Millbank, South Dakota. The purpose of American Legion Baseball is to give players an opportunity to develop their skills, personal fitness, leadership qualities, and to have fun. The league still stands behind these traditional values upon which it was founded on in 1925. The American Legion has taught thousands of young Americans the importance of sportsmanship, good health, and active citizenship. The program also is a promoter of equality, making teammates out of young athletes regardless of their income levels or social standings. The Delano American Legion has had a long and proud history of sponsoring an American Legion baseball team. Could I please have the 2019 American Legion baseball team stand to be recognized? Thank you for being a good representative for the Legion. The American Legion Post 377 sponsors a scholarship essay contest for Delano High School seniors. I would like to thank Mr. Ted May and the judges from the Senior Center Writing Group for judging the essays. The theme for the essay this year is, why is it important to recognize our veterans? Congratulations to the 3 winners, Mackenzie Oswell, Lauren Kantrovich, and Hannah Kreesh. Please come forward to be recognized. They will receive their certificates and scholarships at the Senior Awards this spring. The overall winner, Mackenzie is the overall winner and will present her essay at this time.
Why is it important to recognize our veterans? Every day, people risk their lives so that you and I can live free in America. After serving their time, many return back home. Why should we recognize our veterans? We should recognize them because they chose to serve our country. They left their lives and families behind, and because they might not have returned home or might have returned different. There is great risk for what they decided to do, and we should recognize how much they do for us to live free. First, they chose to serve. People of all ages go into the military with full awareness of what could happen to them. They understand that they might return a different person or not even return at all. They accept that they have to say goodbye to who they once were too. After joining the military, they'd never be the same again. There isn't something that is forced upon our veterans, but it is a path that they chose to take. It is important to understand that they wanted to help each and every one of us. Second, they have to leave their life and loved ones. This isn't something to take lightly. Our veterans have to leave behind mothers, fathers, brothers, sisters, husbands, and wives. Some might even have to say goodbye to their children. I can't imagine how hard it must be for them to leave their family with no certainty that they would return. Lastly, for those who do return, many suffer from physical and mental injuries. According to the U.S. Department of Veterans, about 30% of Vietnam veterans have dealt with PTSD in their lifetime. However, even if they do return injured, our veterans are proud to have served our country. Therefore, it is important to recognize our veterans because they fought for our country, no matter how hard it was for them. They chose to fight. They said goodbye to their families, and they fought with all they had, even if it meant returning a different person. None of us will ever understand what they went through, but we can look to them and say, thank you for serving.
Thank you, Mackenzie, for that well-written essay. As mentioned before, this year we are partnering with Charter Communications for our program. I would like to bring up Patrick Haggerty, Spectrum Regional Director, Government Affairs, to present a contribution to the Delano American Legion.
Good morning. My name is Patrick Haggerty. I am with Charter Communications, or also known as our brand Spectrum. We are grateful to be here this morning in Delano and the Delano High School. Although I could talk a lot about Charter Spectrum, I really want to focus on what today is all about. Charter Communications partners with the History Channel, if you're all familiar with that, to recognize Veterans Day through a program the History Channel calls Bring a Vet to School Day. The purpose of the program is to unite young people with veterans so that young people better understand the importance of today. We also want to recognize American Legion Post 377 here in Delano. And if I could ask Senator Bruce Anderson, as well as Mr. Christensen, to come to the podium. Charter Spectrum would like to present this check for $1,000 to the Delano American Legion Post 377. Thank you for everything you do. Thank you. With that, I will move on. I have the honor this morning of introducing our guest speaker for this morning's program. It's my pleasure to introduce Minnesota State Senator Bruce Anderson. Senator Anderson is serving his second term in the Minnesota Senate, having first been elected to the body in 2012. He previously served in the Minnesota House from 1994 through 2012. Senator Anderson currently serves as the chair of the Senate Veterans Military Affairs Finance and Policy Committee. He is retired from military service in the U.S. Navy, Minnesota Air National Guard, and the U.S. Air Force Reserve. Please help me in bringing forward Senator Bruce Anderson.
Thank you, Patrick. Good morning, students. Good morning, fellow veterans and their families. Good morning to all that came here to specifically honor those who've gone before us from many years ago to present, fighting for our freedoms here in the state and in this country. I thank you for the opportunity to be here and would like to introduce myself. I am Senator Bruce Anderson, and I was a retired E7 Master Sergeant in the Air Force with a total military service of over 30 years. Thank you again for having me. It's great to be here with you, honoring the many who've gone before and served our country, and very, very honored to see the honor that was given to Dylan this morning. Appreciate that, and it brought tears to my eyes. As a veteran, this day has significant meaning for me. In 1969, after completing high school, I attended, I attended North Hennepin State Junior College, and in January of 1970, I joined the U.S. Navy to serve during the Vietnam War. I served for many years in the Navy, the Minnesota Air National Guard, and the Air Force Reserve. The memories of friends I've made and lost during my time in the service are a little more vivid to me each day as I am allowed to live here on this earth. On November 11th, 1918, a German delegation and leaders of the Allied powers gathered in France to officially bring to an end World War I. The ceasefire and the resulting armistice took effect on the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month of 1918. It represented a total and humiliating defeat for Germany, but they were in no position to negotiate at that time. Since then, November 11th has been observed in some capacity as a tribute to all veterans. Originally, it was simply called Armistice Day and was aimed at honoring the millions of Americans who served during World War I. And I take and let you know that it wasn't just men and women who went to war, but men and women who were here in the United States that served them. My grandfather wanted to serve during World War I and was not allowed to because he was a farmer. When he went to the post board to sign up, was told, no, we need food to supply the troops overseas. And so he served, and many there were that served here in the United States to keep the war activity and keep our men and women supplied with food and many other necessary items to fight this war. In 1954, President Eisenhower and Congress recognized the need to pay respect to all veterans and officially changed the name of the holiday to Veterans Day. You know, most of the year, you and I, we don't even think about veterans. It probably doesn't even cross our minds who our neighbors are or who our friends may be, that they have friends and loved ones who went off to serve in the war. We go about our daily lives, mowing our yards, running our errands, doing our homework. We enjoy so many freedoms that others around the world can't even imagine, and the most of the time, we don't even give it a second thought. I remember being a 19-year-old sophomore at Northampton State Junior College, and in September of 1969, I met a returning Vietnam War veteran, John, who fought in the Battle of Quezon, Son, Vietnam. He told me about a time that he and his company were on patrol and were under attack. Viet Cong enemy forces pinned down his company for hours. John was wounded when he and an army buddy were moving up a rise in the jungle terrain. But as they tried to move further away, his buddy was shot and killed, and he fell, pinning John underneath his friend's body. John told me that between his wounds and the flurry of enemy fire that was around him, he was unable to move his buddy off of him. Instead, he laid there for hours, pinned beneath his bleeding body until nightfall. Later that evening, the Viet Cong swept through the same area that they had just conquered with bayonets, finishing off the other members of the company who were badly wounded and crying out for help during the battle. But John wasn't spotted because he was underneath his friend's body. He was spared. Once darkness had prevailed, he was able to crawl out from underneath his friend's body and get to the jungle. And 3 days later, he was rescued by his fellow American troops. He was the only member of his company to survive that battle. I think about John's harrowing story almost every day. And that is why we are here today, to remember him and many other heroes who gave their lives for our country and for the freedoms and the thoughts that we believe and cherish. Countless young men and women have been sent off to strange countries where they witness unspeakable horrors. They do it not for the glory. As former President George Bush said in his 2006 Memorial Day address at Arlington National Cemetery, and I quote, "Our soldiers saw a dark shadow on the horizon, and they went to meet it. They understood tyranny must be met with resolve, that liberty is always the achievement of courage." And I end quote. These patriots do it for every one of us, you and me, your loved ones. We live today in freedom because of the patriots who are willing to serve you and me. It is not in human nature for us to go out and seek conflict, but when conflict comes calling, there are men and women ready to respond. We have a long history of war in this country, beginning with the Revolutionary War all the way to today's war on terrorism. Millions have served to defend this country. They are not just statistics, they are actual real people, sons, daughters, fathers, mothers. They are all who we are now honoring today. It is important to give thanks to those currently serving today. More than 150,000 of these men and women are out and about this whole world, protecting Americans' interests, freedoms, and providing aid and security where it is desperately needed. I pray and ask God to continue to watch over them and bring them home safely. As a veteran, I'm grateful for those who have served. Today, I am especially thankful for my father's service in World War II. Clarence Anderson, who just turned 95 3 months ago, joined the U.S. Navy for a 6-year enlistment when he was 19 years old. He was on board Navy ships responsible for protecting our borders from the Japanese who had recently bombed Pearl Harbor. He was on his way to Saipan when the Army dropped the atomic bomb. After the war was over, he returned to the family dairy farm. He was mostly silent about that time in service. I think much of it was difficult for him to speak about the things that he had gone through, the things that he had seen. He wasn't sure anyone would really understand or appreciate the stories that he had to give out. But one of my fondest memories just recently in 2013 was traveling with him on an honor flight to Washington, D.C. It was his honor flight where he met other veterans at the memorial. It was a profound moment for him. He was brought to tears, and I don't see my dad cry many times, when swapping stories with fellow World War II veterans who he knew could really understand the experience that he had done while in World War II. I now have a daughter, Leah, who joined the active duty Air Force in 1995, and since then, she has been stationed around the world and has overcome dangers and challenges to become a mentor and a strong leader for so many young men and women beginning their careers in the Air Force. I keep her picture with me, and she is in my prayers daily. Often veterans feel isolated because their sacrifice is impossible to understand for those who have not endured it themselves. That is why today is especially important. Recognizing them and thanking them for their service is your impactful gesture and goes a long way to making those patriots feel part of the community of Delano. Today, I encourage you to take a moment to reflect on your freedoms, the privilege it is to enjoy your education, dream for your future, and look forward to all that will one day make this world a better place for all of us to live. Be wise with your gifts that you've been given. Do not squander your freedom, but rather channel the strength of the men and women who have served and given their lives for you. Do good work with the opportunities they have protected us on your behalf. In these times, we are losing so much of what makes our nation unique. Appreciate one another and serve one another to the best of your ability. I have hope in your generation that you will recognize that what we have to lose, freedom, and continue to fight for freedom, is so that all of us has been done before you will not be in vain. For those who have served our country as Veterans Day has a profound meaning. Memories of friends, meanings of victories, meanings of tragedies, and also especially clear today. Although words may not seem enough to honor the sacrifice, I hope each one of you will take a moment to thank a veteran or a patriot who has served. We often take our freedom for granted, but today we are reminded to express our gratitude to those who have protected our great nation and the privileges we enjoy. To every veteran, or active duty military member, thank you. Thank you for your service. I hope and pray you will feel especially appreciated today for the impact you had on each one of us. As we take time today to recognize our veterans, let's make it every day. You can support a veteran who may be going through tough times, suffering with PTSD, suffering with other malign maladies that you don't even know about. Just in the last week, actually it was 2 weeks ago, I have a Vietnam veteran who was my neighbor and never complained about his maladies. He was always going to the VA, but he took his life. And his wife didn't even know that there was anything going on. In fact, it was on her birthday when he took his life. He was 71 years of age, a Vietnam veteran on the forward line. So, as we may know, there are no words to exactly honor the sacrifice that men and women, even our next door neighbors, have done for us. But pay a tribute to them anyway. Maybe by this time next year, you as veterans, you as men and women who have knowledge of those veterans, will have a little bit more meaning for you. May our Supreme Commander, God, richly bless our veterans, our patriots, as they have richly given of themselves, so that freedom is not just a word, but a sacrificial treasure given to each one of us this day. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Anderson, very much. We will now hear from the Delano Woodwind Ensemble, Wind Ensemble, as they play Marches of the Armed Forces. Will veterans and their families please stand, if able, when the song of your branch of the military is played. Marines. Army. Coast Guard. Air Force. At this time, I'd like to thank the Delano schools for putting on this great program together and allowing us to honor our veterans today. Special thank you to Dr. Heil, Mr. Shane, the custodial staff, Nicholas Bjorklund for playing taps. We're going to be playing taps, Charter Communication and the History Channel, and all other staff and students who have helped make this program a success. The reason for today's assembly is to recognize all those among us who have been a part of the great brotherhood and sisterhood we call the U.S. military, our veterans, active duty service members, guardsmen, and reservists. It is your service and sacrifices that has kept our country safe and free. No matter what branch you served in, whether you were peacetime or wartime, whatever your job path was, how many years you served, raising your hand and committing yourself to service in the military was a brave and selfless act. Remember, veterans everywhere put us and America first. Today, we put veterans first. Please stand, if able, and remove your hats for the retiring of our colors. Color Guard. Thank you for your attention to today's program. Thank you for your attention to today's program and for being with us today. Again, thank you.